going on, fellas? So, today, I thought it'd be interesting to go over games I played this year, movies, TV shows, you name it, and do a little review and ranking. These are all the games that I played this year, at least that I could remember and keep track of. Pretty sure this is everything. We're gonna do games I played this year that weren't from 2023, movies, shows, and then actually ranking these games. I played RE4, Xenoblade DLC, Tears of the Kingdom, Street Fighter 6, Catgirl Sekiro, Mario Wonder, Chess Roguelike, Fire Emblem, Streamer Game, Cringe Game kinda, Souls Game, Harry Potter, Tom Howard's Wet Dream, Destiny's Expansion. I couldn't play this, but I played it. Trash, horror, trash, roguelike, mid, good fighting game. TLDR. Those are the games I played. I'm gonna order them later. Check this out. Boom. Am I a master planner or what? These are the games that I played this year that aren't from this year. So I'm gonna go over that real quick. I played Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS, which is like the definitive version, right? Actually, incredible game. I put like 70-something hours into it. I did almost all the content as far as I'm aware. Really, really, really good game. I'm glad I finally... It took me like 3 years of going back and forth to finally finish this game, and I'm really glad I did. Would highly recommend. And I'm going to play Dragon Quest XI at some point, potentially on stream. Slay the Spire, I started playing like a month ago or something, maybe a little over a month, and everybody says this is the shit. It's like the OG card game roguelike, and I definitely agree. I only have like 60 hours on it, maybe, and my highest character is Ironclad at Ascension 17 or something, so I'm still not good at the game, but it is a really, really fun game. It's one of the most addicting games I've ever played. It most definitely passes the I'm up at 3 a.m., but I'm gonna do one more run test. Would recommend. P5R. This is another one that took me like 2 years to complete, but I finally came back to it when it was leaving Game Pass. It was leaving Game Pass at the end of like 2 months ago, and I had like 5 days to complete the last 3 or 4 dungeons and the post game. It was like a full-time job completing this, and I have some problems with the post game. No spoilers, obviously, but I think it makes a lot of the things that happen in the main game not as impactful. Metal Hellsinger is... I love this game. I love Doom, and this is like Doom, but a rhythm game with metal music. It's sick. And it just came out with a new expansion, actually, like a couple days ago or something. I definitely need to play both DLCs on stream at some point. Thymesia. However you say this game, it's a AA Souls-like game in the style of Bloodborne, and this game is actually fantastic. You can do everything in the game in like under 10 hours, but it's short but sweet, doesn't overstay its welcome. It has like just enough content. I just wish that there were more bosses, or that some of the bosses were harder or had more phases, because some of the best bosses in the game are only one phase for some reason. Honestly, one of the best parts about this game, other than the skill tree and the parrying, like all the it's like really mechanically sound for a AA game. It has a lot of good ideas, good solid gameplay, you feel good doing everything. Yeah, one of the best things about this game is that you can rematch all the bosses as many times as you want. You don't have to start a new playthrough to fight the bosses, which I wish every Souls-like game had, because the bosses are the draw, right? But yeah, this game's fantastic. I would give it like a 8.5. Slime Rancher 1. So a lot of these games are from Game Pass, right? And Slime Rancher 1, no exception. I also played this like a week before it got taken off of Game Pass, and I'm really glad I did. I usually don't like these more casual, like comfy games, you know? Not usually my cup of tea, but Slime Rancher is actually a lot of fun. I beat it in like 3 days or something. It's just a dopamine rush. It's really cute, lots of dopamine, satisfying, really appealing color palette, like, it's got it all. And I'm gonna play Slime Rancher 2 at some point whenever it gets out of early access. Next up is Prey. This quickly became one of my favorite games of all time, actually. It's very much like Dishonored meets Bioshock, which is kind of just what System Shock is. It's a immersive sim, sci-fi, really, really solid, and There's like 5 different ways, 5 or more ways you could do everything in the game. If you can think of a way you can get past something or solve a puzzle, you can probably do it the way that you're thinking of, in some capacity. After I 100%ed the game, I would just like go back to certain sections to just think of ways to get in, and I thought of like 4 different ways I could do certain things that I didn't even think of during my actual playthrough. This game's crazy, and I need to play the Moon Crash DLC at some point. Highly, highly recommend. And it frequently goes on sale for like $2 on Steam. Definitely pick it up. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I got this in like early January to hold myself over while I'm waiting for Fire Emblem. Because Fire Emblem came out in early January as well, like January 14th or something. So I just played like this random strategy game because it came free with something. This is like Mario XCOM, and it's actually pretty good. I have some problems with it. It's definitely not a perfect game. Pacing is not great. A lot of the maps, very samey, like it's a very one-note game. And I've heard the sequel kind of rectifies a lot of the issues. But yeah, it's a solid strategy game. You don't have to think too hard. Some of the challenge maps are actually quite difficult for my peanut brain. Solid game. I'm going to play the sequel at some point on stream. Ghostwire Tokyo, definitely don't have much to say about this. This game is one of the most mid games I've ever played in my life, honestly. I'm very thankful that I got it for free on Game Pass, because when it came out, I was contemplating buying it for full price. I'm pretty sure it was $40, but I don't think it's even worth that. Like, this game, it's literally just, you go into this abandoned building, you do the main quest, you get out of the building, and then you have to do like 4 side quests to get rid of the fog to do the next main quest, times 6. And the gameplay loop is very uninspired too. Like, you only have 3 attacks with charge attacks, and it's just simple. You have like a single target thing, an AoE thing, and then like a bigger AoE thing. Is it spooky? I mean, I played it during October for Spooktember. Spooktober, fuck me. Yeah, because I thought it would be a little spooky. Not really, though. It's really just a big nothing burger. I was very disappointed by this game. Deathloop is honestly the most mid game I've ever played in my life. This game is actually just like nothing. And I was blown away because when this game came out, it got like 10s from several outlets. This game got perfect scores, and that was when it was like unplayable on PC. And I played this a couple months ago after they like quote-unquote fixed the game, and I still had to do some bootleg workaround just so the game wouldn't hitch every 2 seconds. I had to like turn on and off G-Sync on my monitor, which fixed it, but I had to do it after every single loading screen. Never had that happen before. And even besides that, you're playing a shooter with 1 enemy type, okay? And then you're playing a puzzle game, like an immersive sim, quote-unquote, with only 1 solution. The point of the game is to figure out how to kill all 8 of these guys in 1 day to break the loop, right? And when you go into the game, you're thinking, all right, this is going to be cool. I'm going to be able to explore this whole island and do some investigating and figure out like where these guys go, their patterns, and how to get rid of all of them in 1 day, right? That's what I thought going in. But what it actually is a completely linear game with 1 solution. You just do missions. It's a shooter with 1 enemy type and a puzzle game with 1 solution. So what's the fucking point? Like, this game is trash. I'm sorry. I love Arcane, but this game is trash. And then lastly, Genshin. I played it a little bit before this year, going into this year. This is a good game, actually, but the way that I play games, it was not healthy for me. Not because I was spending money on it. I wasn't. I am very, like, ADD about collectibles and stuff. Like, if there's something on the map, I want to go get it before I move on. So the way that I would play the game is I would just scour everything for every little chest. And I had a thing on my second monitor opened where all the collectibles were shown on the map, because you get XP and, like, summon materials for it, too. So you're incentivized to do it. It was, like, 6 hours a day. I'm just looking for chests. And then after, like, a week or so of that, I was like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Because it was not healthy. These are the games that came out this year that I didn't get around to that I have or want to have. I'm not really going to talk about these for really long, but like Hi-Fi Rush, Pizza Tower, Dave the Diver, these are all like smaller budget / indie games. Hi-Fi Rush less so. These are smaller games that are critically acclaimed, like overwhelmingly positive. Never heard anybody say anything bad about them. Metroid, everybody says this is one of the best ports, remasters they've ever played in their lives. I played Metroid Prime 3, really like that game. Gonna get around to this. Pikmin 4, no bad things to say about it. Never played Pikmin. I have 3 and 4 lined up. Sea of Stars, after playing Mario RPG, this game takes from Mario RPG, apparently, and the combat in Mario RPG, despite the game being very easy, the combat is pretty engaging, because you have to, like, just frame your attacks and blocks to do more damage or take less damage. So, that's really cool. Jedi Survivor PS5, because I still don't have one. I could not play Jedi Survivor on PC. I played it for just under 2 hours, and I refunded it. This is one of the only games I've ever refunded, because I could not run it, and you still can't run it, and I think they abandoned it. I think they actually abandoned this game. So, if you're gonna play this game, you have to play it on console. FF16, really wanted to play this game, because it seems like it's like Final Fantasy meets DMC, almost, with a little bit of Souls, and the soundtrack is honestly one of the reasons why I need to play this game. Spider-Man 2, I really liked Spider-Man 1. I don't have a PS5, and also I still can't forgive them for doing that face swap bullshit. I'll say it again, the original face for Peter in the first game was perfect, because he actually looked like he was a 26-year-old, somewhat depressed, you know? Like, he looked like he's been through some shit. But now they just made him look like he's 19-year-old Tom Holland. I hate that shit. Ragnarok DLC, which is free, by the way. I mean, I have a PS4 with this game. I played the base game, and it was really good, obviously. But I just haven't gotten around to plugging back in my PS4 and downloading this. I don't really know anything about it. I guess it's like a roguelike, almost. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I haven't even played the base game, but this is something that did come out this year. I'm pretty sure. I need to finish Iceborne and then play Rise on my list for sure. Might stream it. Phantom Liberty. I am one of the people that played the original release of Cyberpunk, day one. I played that game at like 680p with resolution scaling at like 20 to 30 FPS. I played it all the way through. I 100% the game. I really like this game, actually, and it's mainly because of the voice acting and the performances. This game has the best voice acting performances of all time, in my opinion, and I don't think it really comes close. It's very rare where in a big-scale RPG, I don't skip any of the dialogue whatsoever. I didn't skip any dialogue in this game. That's how good the voice acting is. And I've only heard good things about the DLC and the 3.0 update or whatever, 2.0, whatever. I need to get around to this. Last of Us 1 PC. This is a game that I pre-ordered, by the way, and it launched in a broken state, so I never got around to playing it. However, the devs actually stuck around, and apparently the game is pretty good now, like performance-wise, so I should get around to it. Likewise with Dead Space Remake. PC port, not the best, but I heard it's okay now, and it is on Game Pass now, I think? If you have EA Play, I think? So, yeah, Dead Space 1 is one of my favorite games of all time, actually. I need to play this, and then Baldur's Gate 3. I literally have the game, I just haven't started it. So these are shows that I watch. I watched the entirety of The Boys this year, recently. And I think season 1 of The Boys is lightning in a bottle. It's honestly some of my favorite television of all time. Season 1 in particular. I really liked it. And season 2 and 3 kind of... Not the best. I mean, they were still entertaining, but the structure and what they give certain characters to do and the cliches, like, I think they really dropped the ball on seasons 2 and 3 for the most part. It's still fine, but like, season 1's lightning in a bottle. But season 4 apparently has Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it, and I love that guy, and I hope he carries. Invincible Season 2, first couple episodes came out, they're releasing the other half at some point. I mean, yeah, Invincible's great. These early episodes focused on a bunch of different characters for like most of the episodes, which was interesting. Kind of just like a world-building season almost, with a weird cliffhanger, I will say. Would recommend. Only Murders in the Building. This is like the Steve Martin short show with Selena Gomez. I watched this with my family. Just like a cute comedy mystery show, right? I don't think it's anything special. I mean, it was entertaining for what it was, but the actual mystery aspect of it is dog shit, in my opinion. It's just a cute comedy. If you take the mystery seriously, you're going to be very disappointed. And I guess I can also talk about this real quick because we're talking about a mystery. Night Agent is a live-action show, 1 season, about basically government conspiracy to kill the president. It's almost like a mystery because you have to figure out who's pulling the strings. And it's pretty good. A lot of the twists you can see from a mile away. Nothing too creative there, but like the acting is good, the scenery is good, music is good too. solid show, The Chosen. This is actually an adaptation of the Bible, and I watched this with my family from a recommendation. I didn't read the manga, but this show is actually solid. And this is coming from somebody that isn't big on religion by any means at all. Actual solid television. I don't think I would go as far as to recommend it to anybody, but as somebody that doesn't really care for religion and didn't read the manga, I cared about the story to the point where I didn't want people to spoil it, you know? Solid show. And then last we have One Piece live action, which I'm very happy to say as a One Piece fan is not dog shit. And that's not even bias, because if this was dog shit, I would say it. Straight up, I would say it. But it's not. It's actually solid. I've heard people say that their family members just randomly watched it on Netflix and asked them if they knew what it was. Stuff like that is really awesome. I thought that this was going to be pure cringe. I was very afraid to watch this, but it's only like a little cringe because they're trying to adapt wacky Japanese stuff in Hollywood. Very pleased with this. It beams a light on anime adaptations, live action anime adaptations, because it's the first one that isn't dog shit. And then we got movies, and then we're going to rank the games, all right? Real quick. Across the Spider-Verse. This is one of the craziest movies I've ever seen in my life. Actually, start to finish, fantastic. I mean, this is one of the best movies I've ever watched, period. Like, maybe top 5, at least top 10. I mean, it raised the bar for animation. Like, movies are still trying to rip off the first Spider-Verse art style to this day. I'm pretty sure in an interview, one of the animators was like, yeah, it took like 3 months to animate 10 seconds of this one scene, or something like that. I will say, I watched this when I was struggling with motion sickness, and after I left the movie theater, I literally could not walk. That's how much motion fuckiness there is. One of the best movies I've ever seen, honestly. I don't know if the movie awards, what are they called? I don't know if that happened this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a Best Picture nominee. High key. Something that definitely is a Best Picture nominee is Oppenheimer. I'm sure everybody on Earth has seen this movie. I mean, it's fantastic. Does not feel like 3 hours, mainly because there's like no downtime, but also because there's constantly music playing in the background, which modern movies don't really do these days. Movies tend to not have a lot of background music unless an action scene is happening, but this movie is constantly playing music, and different music too. Nothing's really repeated. So it makes the fluidity really, really nice. Like, it does not feel like it's 3 hours. And I mean, like, nothing even blew up till the end, and I was entertained. This movie, Maestro, Bradley Cooper directed and starred in it. I actually watched this like a couple days ago, but I'm putting this on the list because it came out this year. This could actually be my favorite movie of all time now, or like one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, because it makes me feel things. And I know that's kind of vague, but I'm not going to spoil anything. Oppenheimer is a movie where you're kind of just watching people talk, but Maestro is a movie where you're watching people talk and you kind of just feel like you're spectating. Like in Oppenheimer, it feels like you're watching scenes in a movie, right? But in Maestro, because of like the way people are talking and the fact that when they're talking, the camera does not move, it really just feels like you are watching them from outside of a window or something. Like real people talk. That's the best way I can describe it. And it makes me feel several emotions. Crazy movie. Would highly recommend. I don't want to talk about it too much. You should just watch it. Barbo. Yes, I watched this movie. Everybody says it was good, and I agree, it's good, but I don't think it was like a 9 out of 10 or something. It's fine. It's funny. Like, legitimately funny movie. Went by really quickly. I think it's like an hour and 40 minutes, and it felt like 1 hour. Solid movie. The message is good, and I feel like the message is why everybody is bumping it up like 2 entire numbers on their reviews, which, you know, that's just bias, but I think objectively speaking, it's like a 7, high 7, low 8. Solid movie. John Wick 4. I actually only watched the first 3 John Wick movies like last year, and I am not disappointed. I mean, I thought 2 was kind of whack, honestly, but I mean, it's still fun. It's just like popcorn food. Of course, it delivers in the choreography, everything. I mean, ending is a bit questionable. If you know, you know, but solid movie. All these movies are really fun. You could just watch any of them at any moment. Mario movie. I went to see this with like 9 friends. And let me tell you, this has nothing to do with the movie, by the way. I went to see it, and then this fucking kid, there was this little like 4-year-old kid, every time something appeared on the screen, he would like cry throughout the whole movie. And, you know, it's whatever. But the mom that was with him would just like turn and start filming him on her iPhone or something while he's crying. And she didn't do anything about it. Everybody in the theater was pissed at this kid and the mom. It was crazy. It was like the most miserable movie experience I've ever had. But anyway, fuck that mom. Movie itself is a pretty solid family movie. Charlie Day, Chris Pratt, I mean, everybody does well. I mean, ironically, probably the weakest performance is Chris Pratt as Mario. It is what it is. I hope they make more of these. They're going to make a Zelda movie, apparently, and I really hope they don't fuck that up. Solid family movie, would recommend. Guardians 3, I'm not going to say much about this. It's not like the best movie I've ever seen by any stretch of the imagination. It's got a decent ending. I think the story is kind of whack and at times counterintuitive to the theme, but it's still funny. And if you were... you're going to cry in Zelda? Is that you in the Mario movie? Caleb was filming you crying? If you want to talk about funny movies, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is the funniest movie I've ever seen. I went to see this movie while I was going to a friend's wedding, and we got there the night before, and we had nothing to do, so me and my brother just went to go see this, and we were the only ones in the theater, and we were just dying laughing the whole time, dude. This movie is hilarious, because we just don't know if it's taking itself seriously or not. Because, like, somebody will say something really serious, and then you'll hear the Mission Impossible theme, with Tom Cruise running on the fucking roof in the background with, like, no focus. Tom Cruise, unironically, drives a motorcycle off a cliff for real in this movie. Like, it's a real stunt that he did. And that you can watch, like, a little video that the producers made about filming that scene, and they all thought that he was gonna die, that he was just killing himself. He actually drove a motorcycle off a cliff. He's an insane person, and this movie is very funny. Very, very funny. And I don't know if that was the point. It's a funny movie. Now, we're gonna get into the part that people actually give a shit about, which is ranking the games. So, number 21, obviously and unfortunately, Jedi Survivor. In parentheses, could not finish. Because like I said, this game is the worst PC port of all time, and that's not an exaggeration. It had issues where the game literally did not use the resources on your computer. Changing graphics settings did nothing. Upgrading your hardware did nothing. Like, it's the most baffling thing I've ever seen in my fucking life, and they just abandoned it. I played it for a little under 2 hours and refunded it. I don't know if it should be on the list, but it is. Number 20, Redfall. When this came out, I said that this was the worst game I ever played in my life, and I think that is true. The world literally has nothing in it for you to do. You just do the main quest, and there's not really... Yeah, there's like no side content, because the side content is required to progress the main content. So it's not really side content. I hate when games do this shit. It's fake side content. And that's the only thing you can do in the game. When you run around, there's no enemies for you to kill, generally speaking. It runs like shit. RPG mechanics are not there. Characters are all cringe. Like, it's just a nightmare. Apparently they tried to fix it. They really should have just abandoned ship and move on to the next thing. Everybody could forget this happened. Overwatch 2. And I hesitated putting this on the list because I don't even consider it a new game. But I just put it here to shit on it. Yeah, this game's whack. They canceled the PvE, which was the whole reason they had the 2 in their name. Blizzard is just a joke, man. It really is. It's so bad. The change from 6 players to 5 players per team, it's good in concept, but a lot of the tanks weren't changed to actually accommodate being solo tanks. Roadhog is the best example of this. He's just not fit to be a main tank, and they keep trying to fix him. And then the tanks that are good at being main tanks are just the most broken characters in the game. So that's one side of the extreme, and then the other side of the extreme is that all the supports are now, like, power crept to hell. Like, I'm getting 2-tapped by a support from across the screen. Like, not my cup of tea. I was contemplating putting Starfield below Overwatch, but, like, I hate Overwatch now. This game, I only put it above these things because I still put, like, 70 hours into it or something. I beat it, I did all the faction quests, and I really hated it in the beginning, and then I got to the first main city. I think it's hilarious that this game was nominated for, like, one thing. I don't even remember what it was. I wanted to drop the game after the first couple hours, and then I got indoctrinated by the whole it gets good after 12 hours thing. And, you know, it does get better, but, like, nothing will change the fact that the procedural generation ruins the entire game. Everybody can agree that we would rather have, like, 2 feature-packed, content-packed planets with stuff to do than 1,000 ones that have no content. And I stopped playing the game because after I beat the game, And, well, the New Game Plus gimmick is also terrible in my opinion. It's a complete gimmick. Not gonna spoil it, but yeah. I did not feel like just clicking on solar systems and clicking on every single planet until I found a named location that had actual content. I didn't want to do it anymore, so I just dropped it. Would not recommend. It has like mostly negative reviews on Steam now. So now we have Chess Roguelike, Shotgun King. This game's tight, but the reason it's this low is because there's not a lot of things to do. It's a roguelike with not a lot of builds. There's like 5 or so weapons and not that many augments that you can unlock. If you just find a playstyle, you can kind of just do that one thing. There's rarely a run where you just don't find whatever you want. And in a roguelike, that's kind of like the whole point, being able to find different stuff and adapting. And you can't really do that in this game. That's basically it. It's solid for what it is. It's a couple dollars. You can get a couple hours of enjoyment out of it. Now we have Streamer Game. If this year didn't have so much dog shit, this would probably be towards the bottom. And that's because I don't really like these streamer games. Among Us, what is that other one that people were playing? Phasmophobia, stuff like that. It's not really my cup of tea. I don't really buy into the whole streamer game thing because people just watch streamers do it with other big streamers that are Twitch acting and hyping it up, right? For content. It's easy content. And then everybody just thinks it's a good game. It's fine. I mean, I've played it with a couple different friend groups and I've gotten my money's worth out of it. It's like $9 or $10. Gotten my money's worth out of like funny moments actually happening, but the second you start playing with somebody that takes it seriously, it ruins the whole thing. I'm a little sick of it. I hope it dies soon. Alan Wake 2. Many will be surprised to see it this low, but if you know me, this isn't a surprise. When I was writing down the games that I played this year, I had to look at games that came out this year to remember that I played this game. And it's truly tragic because, like I said, I'm a big Alan Wake 1 simp. One of my favorite games of all time, but I just had a horrible experience. I made a 45-minute video about this game and the horrible experience I had, and some objective criticisms about it too. If you're curious, check out that video. Would appreciate. Everybody sucks this game off, and I think it's just blind because it's weird, and it does some different stuff, and it has that musical scene that everybody loves. I think the reviews are a bit inflated because of that. New Game Plus came out with new content and a new ending, and nobody played it. Nobody talked about it, nobody played it. I didn't play it, nobody I watched played it, I haven't seen any videos on it. Nobody gives a shit about this. People pretend to give a shit about this because of the musical scene and the theme and stuff like that. But this game is actually just mid, and it breaks my heart because Alan Wake 1 is one of my favorite games. You're skipping it and you play horror, gives you a shit vibe. Yeah, I mean, the horror aspects on it too are definitely a mixed bag because the first game was like a thriller, right? It wasn't a horror game. This game, they went in on horror, and it's just a bunch of shitty jump scares that you can't predict. That's not scary. There's nothing actually, well, okay. There's like one part in the game that's actually scary without jump scares, but then they just add 20 jump scares anyway. And it's supposed to be a survival horror game, but you get completely capped on your inventory space halfway through the game. So you never have to worry about the survival aspect either. It's just a nothing burger, man. I hope the DLC is good. So I just finished playing this game, and it's pretty mid. This is one of the games where people are like, it's my childhood. I played this game a billion times. How? I mean, when you're a kid, I get it, but like, this is a 10-hour-long JRPG where the level cap is 30, and you literally just press the A button the entire time. Like, the mechanics in the game are actually really good and innovative, which is why Sea of Stars took liberties from it, and I really like that. But, like, there's no hard mode, there's no nothing. The hardest fight in the game is the super boss they added in the remake. That's actually a little hard, but that's because you have to manage your health and shit, or else you get one shot. But generally speaking, you just press the A button, you can beat the whole game by just doing auto attacks, and then you just go in a straight line on the map. My first stream of the game was like 3 hours long, and I did the first 5 stars out of 7. That's how short the game is. But it's fine. I think it's like mid, but it's a fine game. Hogwarts Legacy. I am not a Harry Potter guy in any capacity, but this game is actually really solid. So just letting you know, I don't have any bias there. Voice acting is really, really good, and the presentation is stellar. Once again, don't really give a shit about Harry Potter, but this game almost made me. I was interested in the story, the scenery, the game feels good. It's like a magic third-person Dark Souls with a dodge roll and a bunch of spells. A lot of people were complaining that there was only like 35 or 40 spells. That's fine. That's still a lot, and you could do a lot with them. Combo system feels really good. You juggle and relaunch and shit. Like, it's a solid game. Would recommend. On sale. Not the longest either, but it's fine. So speaking of not the longest, 20 minutes till dawn. So this is a Vampire Survivors-esque roguelite, where the gimmick is that the runs are 20 minutes long and you have to survive until it reaches 0, with it getting harder as it progresses, right? And then there's, I think 10 levels of heat, either 10 or 20, I think it's 20 actually. So every run you complete, it gets harder with a different modifier. And then there's like 10 characters with 10 or 11 guns that you can mix and match. You can do a lot of stuff in that game. However, the builds, they get a little samey. Like, it's basically just, is the character good at summons? Is the character good at fire rate? Or is the character good at dot damage? And you just choose one of those and go. I did all the content in the game. I 100% it. I beat it on the hardest difficulty with every character, with every gun. Took me like 10 hours to do everything. Not a long game. It's not a hard game either. Even on the hardest difficulty, it is not very difficult. That's my only complaint, really. Not trying to be elitist or anything, but that's just the truth. You can steamroll this game. But yeah, it's still solid. Would recommend. It's only a couple dollars. I might get crucified for putting this here. The Lightfall expansion for Destiny 2. The actual campaign for this is terrible. It is cringe. It is nothing. It doesn't add anything to the story at all, except for the last cutscene, which is stupid. Final boss is stupid. All of it is bad. However, Strand is really fun. It's fun on all 3 characters, all the builds. You can do like grapple stuff where you just, it's like a mini demolitionist proc, or you just do it for infinite melees, which is super broken on Titan right now. Banner of War is super fun. Necrotic Grips, Hunter. Strand is not the best on Hunter, but like, it's still fun. Strand verbs are really cool. But mainly the year's content, all 3 or 4 of the seasons so far, the seasonal activities have been really good, which is rare. Usually the seasonal activity you kind of get sick of after a couple runs and you're like, oh my god, I have to run this again for the weekly rewards or whatever. Consistently, every single season's activity this year has been fun, and I still replay all of them. And that's mainly because this year, they've tried to incorporate roguelike elements, actually. Like, you'll find buffs that give you more grenade damage, or in this season's, you have to collect shards, and then after every loop, you can spend those shards on different buffs for your whole team. Like, it's really cool. And the rewards are good, too. A lot of the crafted weapons are good. This year has been good, despite the campaign being trash, despite the story in some of the seasons being trash, and despite all of the internal stuff at Bungie being whack. The content's good. Zelda. Honestly, I thought about putting this lower, but it does break the top 10. And, which is funny to say because I put 100-something hours into it. I 100% the game without Korok seeds. It is what it is. I can't be fucked to do that. It's a good game. However, I will maintain my opinion that Breath of the Wild with Tears of the Kingdom mechanics is a better game than Tears of the Kingdom. And honestly, Breath of the Wild without the mechanics is probably still a better game than Tears of the Kingdom, which I could get crucified for, but I think it's the truth. Tears of the Kingdom does not add that much to the table. It adds the mechanics. Ultra Hand is fantastic, and it's probably going to be attempted to be ripped off by a bunch of people in the next decade. Like, it is that impactful of a mechanic where all the developers are probably like, why didn't we think of this? And they're gonna rip it off. Just like every open world game has a paraglider because of Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Mechanics are good. Building is really funny. Endless possibilities there. However, my problem with the game, the story is like the worst. It had potential to be the best, and it was just the worst. The fact that you can find the story cutscenes from the tiers on the ground out of order, and I literally did. I found like the first one, and then I found the second to last one. So the whole story was spoiled for me, because I found it out of order. I don't understand how they didn't think of this. Like, they very easily could have just made it so every tier that you find plays the next cutscene in order, but they didn't. They made it tied to individual cutscenes statically. So I found the first one, and then I found the second to last one. So the whole story was ruined for me. I saw characters die that I didn't even know who they were yet. Story is whack. The way it's told is whack. The fact that when you beat the dungeons are also not great. Half the dungeons in this game I beat in like half an hour, which is a joke. And then the bosses, actually the bosses are good in this game. But the main thing for me that sucks is the shrines. And the shrines are supposed to be the best part about these two modern Zelda games. In Breath of the Wild, you go into a shrine, you do a puzzle. Might not be the hardest thing in the world, but it's still like something to scratch your brain, right? But in this game, you go into a shrine, it's either going to be a reward shrine, or like a combat shrine, or a stealth shrine, something like... there's like a 15 or 20% chance that the shrine you go in is going to actually be a puzzle, which is what the game is supposed to be about. And there's 140 shrines in this game or something, right? And you have a 20% chance to go into one and find an actual puzzle with something to do. That's my biggest problem with the game. It makes it... I just roll my eyes whenever I go into a shrine and it's a reward shrine or something. Like, I'm sick of it. I would not replay this game. I would replay Breath of the Wild, I wouldn't replay Tears of the Kingdom. Amnesia the Bunker. I never played an Amnesia game before. I did, however, play Soma, I think it was last Halloween, right? The one before this, on stream. And it's made by the same people, and I really love Soma, because it kind of scratches that Bioshock itch, that dystopian underwater itch. I think the Amnesia elitist community doesn't like this game as much because you don't have like an insanity meter or whatever. I guess in the older Amnesias, if you looked at the monsters, you would go insane and shit and then die if you looked at it for too long, right? But this game doesn't have it. The monster is really fun. Going into an area and then seeing a hole in the ground, knowing that it could come out of there at any moment, baiting it to come out, using your resources to try to get it to run away. It's like a scary version of Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. And I really like the World War II or 1, whatever it was, setting in the bunker. Yeah, everything about that game is cool. It's short and sweet. It definitely has replay value for efficiency. Big fan. Was pleasantly surprised. I thought I was gonna not like these games. Mario Wonder. So this is a 2D Mario, the newest one, and it's actually pretty good. And I say surprisingly good because the 2D Marios have had a track record of not being the best after the Wii 3DS era. But this one really reprises that genre because the Wonder mechanic, the Wonder Seed mechanic, you basically have an LSD trip with a unique gimmick in every level. Which is really crazy. Like they had to think of so much shit for this game, and it's really entertaining every level when you get the Wonder Seed to see what they thought of. It's also aesthetically pleasing. The color palette in this game, very like, I'm not sure how to describe it, like cotton candy, that kind of shit. Really aesthetically pleasing. Just a solid game overall. I suck at 2D platformers, and I was able to enjoy this game. Would recommend. I 100% it. Some of the last levels are actually hard. Kanagi Usagi. Now, you might be wondering what this is. This is the Catgirl Sekiro game, which is free, by the way. And it's really solid. It scratches the Sekiro itch like no other game has. It emulates the mechanics perfectly, like almost too well, to the point where I think they just copied it frame for frame. Good amount of content. You can 100% the game in like half an hour or something. 45 minutes, depending on how good you do on the bosses, and if you flawless them. But yeah, it's free to play. Sekiro clone with Catgirls. It's this high because of how well it emulates that game. I'm very, very pleased with this. So now we got Grand Blue. The first Grand Blue never got the love and attention that it actually deserved because it came out when COVID hit, basically, and the online was trash. So everybody dropped it. The new mechanics with like Raging Strike, which is basically DI, and all of the things tied to the bravery point system, really nice. It has the best guard cancel in any fighting game, I think, ever. It's like instant, and it's +6 on block and does damage. It's really fucked up, actually, because those things individually are not strong, or well, not game-breaking, but when you put them all together, it makes for a broken mechanic. Because if you are on the back foot and you're losing the round trying to make a comeback with like 2 HP, and you start your offense, you just get guard cancelled, and then it either does damage to put you at 1 HP, or they're +6, and then they can true block string into like a DP and chip you out. It's very hard to make a comeback in this game because of guard cancel being as strong as it is. 6XL is also a cancer. Every character in the game has soul farts, and I hate it. It's really toxic. Some of them are way better than others, and the offense in the game really just boils down to 6xl into either spacing trap or 6xl again. It's just annoying. It makes the game boil down to a really repetitive, gimmicky gameplay where everybody can pretend like they know how to play neutral. But the game is good. All of the characters are really fun. This is the only fighting game I've played where I want to play every single character. And I have been. I've been playing a new character every week. So yeah. And I'm still in the free-to-play version, by the way. I didn't talk about this. This is the first fighting game, like big fighting game, to have a free version. And the free version has everything available to it, basically. The characters are on rotation, yes, but you can get to the max rank in this game. You can go into practice mode with every single feature available, frame data, everything. You can do everything in this game for free. I am almost max rank on a couple characters, free to play. I'm trying to do it as a meme, but I'm also doing it so I can digest characters at a weekly pace. Would recommend to people new to the genre or people that wanted to give it a try and were kind of hesitant, try the free version, Street Fighter 6. This is the first fighting game that has really felt like it's a next-gen fighting game. You know what I'm saying? Graphically, animations, backdrops, the effects, hits the mark on everything. Supers, specials, the ink effects on your system mechanics. Game's beautiful. It really is. It's also the best launch of any fighting game, I think, of all time. Amazing netcode, feature-packed. Anybody can pick up this game, and if you just want to do World Tour mode, you're good to go. Apparently it's good. I still haven't done it, but yeah. Anyone can play this game and get fun out of it. So the only real complaint about Street Fighter 6, in my opinion, is that the ranking system is a joke until you're Master to Legend rank. And my point here is that you can get to Master rank with a 42% win rate in this game. And that's like somebody did the math and made a diagram of it. That is super cringe. People with a less than 50% win rate can play against Daigo. I got into Master rank with like a 75% win rate or something, and I fought the worst Ken player I've ever fought in my life. He literally just did Dragon Lash and DP. That's it. He was Master rank. And then after that, I played against IDOM's Manan and Brian F's JP. Back to back. Yeah. The rank is a joke. And thankfully they added legend ranks, so now like the actual top tier players can have their own rank, and then the rest of us can just be Master. That's my only complaint about the game, other than Drive Rush being a little too good, Raw Drive Rush, I mean, being a little too good, and enabling people that don't know how to play neutral to just pretend like they know how to play neutral. That's like the problem with both of these games. But otherwise, fantastic game. I need to get back on the grind when Akuma comes out. Alright, I'm jingling the keys. Everybody wake up, I'm talking about Resident Evil 4. This is a game I was looking forward to, I guess, for a year, right? Because I only played the original RE4 a year ago, and I really liked it. I had to come back to it because it made me motion sick, actually. I had to do some stuff with some files to change the FOV or something to make it playable for me. But yeah, I really like the original, and I don't think that this game replaces the original. I think that was a fear many people had, but I can safely say that it doesn't replace the original. If you don't like this game, you're still good to play the original. Don't worry. That being said, I do think it's a great remake. They did cut some of the content, which is a bit questionable, because I think if there was a game you weren't going to cut content in, it would be this one, because this whole game is just about having fun, not too long little arenas to fight in, but more the merrier in this game. So I'm a little disappointed they cut some things, but everything else is really good. I really like the way that the RE engine looks. I think that might be a hot take. It does have some graphical bugs with like shimmering and stuff like that, and you have to mod in DLSS. Overall, the game looks great. Voice acting is good except for Ada, which is like the worst thing ever. I'm sorry, not sorry. The DLC was good. Gunplay is good. The guns feel great. Progression is fine. I feel like the progression is better in the first game, somehow. The little trinkets that you can earn in the shootout sections, kind of just gimmicky, not really super impactful. This game's really good. I need to replay it again on Professional. I want to unlock all the shit, but yeah, I'm gonna play it again soon. It's cool, just not as groundbreaking as 2005. Yeah, I mean, the game literally invented third-person shooters, basically. And I thought about this the other day when I was thinking about Monster Hunter and stuff. Capcom just Old Capcom games just invented 5 different genres, and they're still the pinnacle of their genre. Capcom's crazy, honestly. But I still really like this game. Okay, well, back to this real quick. It's definitely not as goofy as the first game. What my favorite part about the original game is just how unabashedly goofy it is. With the QTEs, which, I mean, the QTEs are annoying, but, like, it's still funny watching Leon run away from a fucking 30-foot tall boulder for 45 seconds. Fortunately, not many QTEs in this game. The goofiness factor in the remake is much lower, unfortunately. Like, what's his name? Ramon? They made that guy look stupid in this. And in the original, he just looked like this little midget guy. And the voice is way better in the original, too. I'm really sad they kind of fumbled him in the remake, but yeah. I miss the goofiness of the original. Top 3. Fire Emblem Engaged. I think this could be a hot take, especially if people don't know about Fire Emblem. This game is like an anniversary type game, right? It's not supposed to be serious. It's supposed to be a celebration of the series, right? Bunch of nostalgia bait. But it actually has like the best gameplay in the entire series, in my opinion, from what I've played of the series, that is. Basically, the gimmick of the game is that you have your units, but the nostalgic main characters from other games, they're JoJo stands inside these rings, basically. And the rings that you equip to your units give them different skills, stats, gimmicks, all that stuff. And you can mix and match them however you want. It works fantastically. Some of the enemies have the rings as well, which you have to think about. It looks stupid to you. That's because it is. It has the worst story and like some of the cringiest characters of all time. I would skip the cutscenes, but the gameplay is the best in the series, in my opinion. And that's what matters in a game like this. Yeah, your main character looks like a Colgate toothpaste bottle. I didn't play the story DLC, I really need to get back into it. Basically, it's up here because the gameplay is the best in the series, and that's all that matters in a strategy game like this. It plays very well too, like, it feels good. Three Houses did not feel very good. And they also made a lot of graphical updates in this game. I went back to finish a Three Houses playthrough after I beat this game, and Three Houses looks like fucking shit compared to this game. I don't know what magic they did. This game looks great. Here come all the eye rolls. This is the game, the JRPG that I played probably a collective 200 hours of on stream, and everybody was sick of it, but I don't give a shit. Xenoblade 3, the base game, has a bunch of issues. It's not my favorite game. Like, the story is not the best, and the side quest structure being revolved around, like, these guys and the letters of the alphabet, not the best. But this is the expansion, which is a prequel with the main characters from the first game and the second game and some new characters, right? And it's just fantastic. There's not a dull moment in this. It's like 20 hours long at max, and it's just feature-packed. Really solid bosses. The gear is cool. You can pair up your units to do different special attacks. The theme of the story really resonated with me, actually. It's a very optimistic story. I'm not going to say much after that, but yeah. This was everything I hoped for, a little less than what I hoped for. I wish that the old characters had more of a important impact, but yeah, they're still fun to play, and the story is fine. It's just really the theme and the music and the settings that did it for me. Very, very happy with this expansion. I would say this expansion is better than the main game, which is kind of crazy. Lies of P, Game of the Year. I mean, I said it when I played the game. This was my Game of the Year, easily. I contemplated making a video, like a full video, about this game, but I think I'm going to wait until they release the DLC expansion for it to make a comprehensive video on it. This is the best Game of the Year, in my opinion, and it basically surpassed Dark Souls. No other Dark Souls-like game has even come close to the feel and the polish of From Software. This game has somehow met and exceeded that expectation. Somehow. And this is like NeoWiz's first big game or something, whatever the developer is called. And they knocked it out of the park. If you gave this to somebody and then said that it was made by From Software, they would probably believe you. That's how good it is. It is set in a city that is very much like the setting in Bloodborne, which it's my favorite setting in the series, the like Lovecraftian gothic kind of thing. And it also takes from the gameplay of Bloodborne as well, in some aspects, with the rally system and stuff, and the general fast nature. This game is fucking fantastic. Every moment of it is great. I mean, there are some annoying sections, don't get me wrong. My only real complaints are that some of the bosses are kind of pushovers, and the throwables are actually OP. Like, if you watch speedruns for the game, they just use throwables. I don't think that's ever really happened in a Souls-like game where the throwables do more damage than your weapons. And my only other major complaint is that they nerfed the game way too hard. And this is sounding elitist, and I guess it kind of is, but when the game came out, some of the things needed to be changed, yes. Like some of the drop rates just giving you actual useless shit, that needed to be changed. But everything else they changed about the game was not needed at all. They made the game a complete joke in post-production. Like, they nerfed a bunch of the bosses. Like, they nerfed the boss where the whole point is an endurance test with a massive HP pool, and then you get to the second phase, and then it's fucked up. They nerfed the HP on that boss by like 30 or 40%. So you took away the whole point of that boss. And they nerfed the HP on a couple other bosses too. They nerfed the HP on the final boss. They made everything easier to stagger, like twice. They made that change. They made the stagger window larger, so when you see the white around their health bar and you need to do a charge R2, they increased the window for that like 2 times. They increased the drop rate of soul items, basically the currency and what you use to level up. They increased the drop rate of the items that you use for that, and also the drop rate of the raw number of souls you get for killing an enemy. So you're getting more XP and money 2 different ways now, as compared to the first patch. So that's another way the game is easier. They made it so every point of capacity gives you more points of equip load. That was one of the hardest parts about the game, is managing your inventory, because a lot of the strongest gear weighed a lot, so you had to weigh your options, no pun intended. Now you don't have to do that, you can just get a mid-roll with the strongest gear, no questions asked. If I were to replay the game now, I would probably just down patch, not gonna lie. Sounds elitist, but that's just my opinion. I do want to play it again soon. I definitely am looking forward to the DLC and the sequel. They said they're making a sequel, and if you know, you know. The post-credits cutscene, if you know, you know. That shit's gonna be crazy. I could go on and on for 40 minutes about this game. Like I said, I wanted to make a video about it, but yeah. Game of the year, free. The music is also top tier in this game. They did not have to go as hard as they did for the boss themes and also the vocal tracks that you just get on records. They didn't have to go so hard. A lot of people aren't even going to listen to that stuff because, well, it's tied to a mechanic, but yeah. This game hits every single mark for me. Like, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and it is high-key the best Souls-like game, better than actual Souls game. That's gonna be my list, boys. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you. 2023 was a really good year for games, while also being a really shit year for games. But overall, more good than bad. Really solid. 2024 is looking good too. I'll see you boys in the next one.